Good Morning Wilmington with Nadj Jea. Welcome back. We here.
It's a new year.
It's a new year. I ain't seen you since last year.
I haven't seen you since last year.
Let me see.
Is there anything different? What do we see different? There should be nothing different.
There's a light glow.
There's a light glow.
There's a light glow to you.
Because I've lightened up over the winter? Like, is that what we're talking about?
No.
Because I missed the sunshine.
We are in a new year.
Yes.
With a show still.
Yeah.
We here. We live. We here. We right here.
This is going to be an interesting
adventure. This is going to be our best year yet.
It's going to be our first full year yet, and I'm excited for it.
Oh my gosh, y'all don't know what y'all in for. We don't know what we in for because we ain't playing nothing yet, but we gonna get it.
No, that's not true. We planned some things. We have no.
Like, God.
We have a very clear plan for this year on how to grow and become the show that you all know that we can
Watch
become.
Watch out, Kelly and Ryan, Hoda and Kathy.
Now you're playing, but I'm not playing.
We're good. We're good. We're about as good as everyone else.
I am looking forward to becoming exactly what we know we can be. And it's going to be
What is that?
I know that over the course of 2021, we are going to grow tremendously. Astronomically.
Looking for another big word. Is there another one?
No. Well, probably not, but today's show will feature my sister, my partner, TAHIRA. And Michele Taylor from
United Way.
Yeah. And I've said this over and over again, I thoroughly enjoy the fact that we are continuing to highlight some just boss level female.
This is a trend here in Delaware. I'm noticing where the fellas at? Where y'all at?
And why would you continue to disrespect Jilly who clapped back? Talk about it.
What? How you going to transition?
Because we're talking about
my transition.
Wasn't yours though? Because we're gonna start on fighting. Is that how we're gonna start the year? I want to start on a good note.
Okay. Well, first I want to do an affirmation.
Let's affirm.
Okay, let me find it.
Exactly.
It's here. Forget it.
You said a whole bunch of nothing, and that is wonderful.
All right, so I affirm that I am not my past, and my past does not dictate my future. Say that to yourself and believe it.
Okay. You want me to actually say it right here, right now?
No, I'm telling our...
Okay, because I'll say it if you want me to.
I'll say it.
I can't remember what you said, but I support that affirmation.
I am not my past, and my past...
I am not my past, and my past...
will not dictate my future.
Will not dictate my future.
Yes.
There we go.
Look at that.
I love that.
I love myself. Okay, so now I'm going to transition officially. Because you think you run stuff here.
No, I don't. I really don't.
So we talked about last Monday? Last Monday we talked about how...
Last Wednesday, actually, but... Right?
Whenever we talked about it, somebody was coming for Auntie Jill Biden. And we would Dr. Auntie Jill Biden. We wasn't playing. And she responded.
What did she actually say? I'm interested to hear this because I didn't read this specifically.
Let me find it.
But I love the fact that she said something back. Go ahead.
She did. So she said in the tweet, "Together we will build a world where the accomplishments of our daughters will be celebrated rather than diminished and seen."
And seen. Well done. I really do wish, and this is, I guess, I'm going halfway off track already, but like, I would like to see in 2021 less communication. I should say I want more face-to-face communication. Like the back and forth with the Twitter wars and even like...
So you basically saying pull up. Pull up, bruh.
Pull up.
Let's have a conversation.
Pull up and let's have a conversation about whatever it is. Because I have been... Listen, there was a point probably like... You go back about 9 months and I was still getting in all kinds of Facebook wars.
Why?
It's the petty side of me wanting to be right. It's that...
You know what the petty side of me does?
It's that male ego, you know?
I screenshot, send it to my family, and talk mad stuff.
You know, and that's not a good way to function.
Like I'm not, yes, it is.
Well, that is. That's funny. That's
right.
funny.
Like,
no, that's funny.
Oh my God, you see this? This is nonsense.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But I'm not going to entertain these.
It's toxic.
haters.
It's toxic. You will find yourself just like, I mean, I don't know if you've ever been as bad as me with this, but like,
Yeah, no.
I have, like, there have been times when I have woken up in the middle of the night still stewing about something that someone said on the interwebs, like, yo, I'm gonna respond and you gonna get this heat today, and it's so stupid. It's absolutely
My
ridiculous.
parents taught me very early.
My parents taught me terribly, apparently. No, it's my petty side
This
just
is the
on
thing
fire.
he thinks that they taught him wrong.
No, this is absolutely my, creating a monster on my own that didn't need to be. But I put that monster to rest
Oh, God.
and moved on.
Well, for the people who are curious as to why I wanted to work with Jay, it's that exact reason. Because when me and Jay are together, sorry, my shirt. When me and Jay are together, Jay is like the person in my head that I want to be, but because I have class, I cannot be. So therefore, Jay is here.
Basically, I am only functioning here on a daily basis as her classless alter ego. Like, that's pretty much my role.
Look at us. Look at the hair. Look at the style. I mean, come on. He pretty and light skinned.
Oh my gosh.
Because I know everybody like, why she want to work with him? Because Jay is the classless Nadj Jea. No.
I'm happy to play that role, quite frankly.
And he can sing.
I'm happy to play that role. It's actually really, really, really funny. I support that wholeheartedly.
So, Auntie Jill, honey, don't diminish yourself.
No,
And
she
whoever
didn't.
said that, boy, get out of here.
No,
So,
far out of here.
next thing, Delaware. We talked about this a couple episodes ago.
The spotlight. Mm-hmm.
We are spotlighted right now. Like, we got Philly and New York talking about us. I mean, they're giving us some backhanded compliments,
Like
saying,
what?
like we're dull and boring and not much is going on. But let me tell you something. Delaware makes stars. You want to know how I know? Come here.
Come here. Get close.
I'm a star.
Oh my gosh. But no. You know what? I'm going to, before we go into our first segment, I think you make a great point.
Yes.
And I'm going to expound on what you're saying because however you cut it, I think that you would be hard pressed to find, and I don't want, this is not a racial thing, but I think you would be hard pressed to find an independently owned company, run by a relatively young black man, and you got two co-hosts talking about what we talking about, and we're having a good time doing it.
And people like
it's
watching it.
fun, and long term, we want to be as open as possible and bring the whole state into this. And I think that we do. Like, I think that if you drop this thing in Philly and it was like big name people, it would be an instant hit. And we just have to build, and that's what we're doing.
Building. We're building. Mm-hmm. So, like I said a few episodes ago, get your clothes together. Shave, bathe, brush your teeth. And be ready, because all eyes on us, and we need to show them that Delaware has it. We get it.
You know what? New Year's resolution that I should make, even though I don't make them, but maybe I make one a little bit late in the game.
Okay.
Is I'm gonna go on a tangent. Okay.
Oh, no.
When I went to Montreal, the people dressed there so doggone well, and I was like, I want to step up my game, but in a simple way, because I don't have time to sit around and think about what to wear. But you're right. The spotlight's on us, and I want to shine in every way possible.
So I got it. I'm So Delaware's resolution for 2021 is to prove to everyone else that we are as fly as we are.
And if we're not, we're going to get there. Because I need to get there. I'm not there yet. I mean, I got this little paisley shirt with all the things I can put my muscles at. You know what I'm saying? And flex on these fools.
Ain't nobody buying tickets to no gun show, honey.
Fine. So who's our first guest?
I can't.
You can and you will.
For the next year, this is what I have. Wow. Well, our first guest is TAHIRA. And before that,
yes.
Yeah.
No, I'm shut my mouth.
his New Year's resolution is to listen to what I say. Okay, because you getting a little, okay. But now we're going to go to Desi with the good news.
Good morning, it's your girl Desi, and now it's time for the good news. Listen, you guys, don't forget to follow us on DETVCH.com because you might just hear your quote. So today's quote is coming from Veronica.Bee, lots of E's on that one, and it's a good one, y'all. It's all about the smile. It says, your smile is your best asset, so smile while you still have teeth. Once again, your smile is your best asset, so smile while you still have teeth. Now, I know some of y'all are like, Desi, I don't know, my smile is not perfect. Listen, you were fearfully and wonderfully made, flaws and all. So do me a favor, remember, your smile is your best asset. So smile while you still have teeth. And don't forget to follow us on DETVCH.com.
Everyone needs help at some point in life. My name is Rosie Tooley, and I have created Lessy, which gives entrepreneurs the help and support they need to develop their skill and business background.
The people who are a part of this are very excited. They buy into the vision of it.
I have met people who have had everything stripped from their lives. These are unique, creative, and powerful people, and my goal is to give them the opportunity to reveal those qualities.
It takes a village to raise a community, and Delaware is part of my community, and they're a part of this community, because what I'm doing here with financial peace could not have been done without Delaware's contribution.
Thank you, Desi, for the good news. Jay?
I am super stoked to introduce my friend, my partner, my sister TAHIRA. And I want to say before I even, before we even start the conversation, I was introduced to TAHIRA from my brother, Jonathan Whitney. He brought us together to create a joint project with the Delaware Art Museum. And basically, she told the story of the 1968 occupation of Wilmington by the National Guard, and I did the soundtrack for it. So she did the story, and I did the music. And we clicked and have developed an awesome relationship on several different levels. And I am so happy that you're here to show, our community who you are and what you do. So welcome.
Welcome.
Yeah. So let's start with the simple stuff. Tell the people what a storyteller is, because you're a storyteller. That's the basis. That's where we're coming from.
The bottom line.
That's the bottom line. So tell us what a storyteller is.
That's the foundation. That's right. I'm a storyteller. I tell stories from the African diaspora, wherever you find Africans. I tell stories that derived from America, from West Africa, and the foundation of storytelling in our community on a global scale is that the storyteller is the keeper of the culture, right? Is the barometer by which we use to gauge the community in terms of knowing our history, in terms of knowing our way forward. Before there was the written word, there were stories. And in kingdoms where it was important, in all places, it's important to preserve your history, the storyteller was the most important person in the community, because the storyteller ensures that the people are remembered, that the history is remembered, and the traditions are passed on.
So when did you realize that this was your calling?
Oh, what a great question. When did I realize it? It took a minute. Now, my pop would say, and he's an ancestor now, that I've been telling stories or lies all my life. But that's a story for another time. But I realized when I was beginning my family, I was pregnant, and I wanted to give my child the stories that my father gave me. My father was a African-centered man. He was a Black nationalist, a Pan-Africanist, and he traveled to Africa, and making the culture center in our family was important. but he had made transition 4 years before my daughter was born. And I wanted to give her what he gave us. And I started calling family and trying to gather stories. And I was, going through the grieving process and me becoming a parent, not having one of my parents. And I was having trouble. This is 92. I was having trouble finding stories rooted in what I grew up in. So I started sharing that with my daughter. And then one day I'm a Philly girl, but I live in Delaware, proud to be in this small wonder state. But I went to a museum, the Peace Touch Museum. My daughter was like just a few months old. And I saw Charlotte Blake Austin, who is a phenomenal storyteller. And I was watching, she was doing a Kwanzaa program. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, how was she here telling stories? I mean, this is like what I knew in my family. Talked to her afterwards. She told me that she made money doing it. I was like, what? And that there was a new organization just started in Philadelphia called Keepers of the Culture that was an affiliate of the National Association of Black Storytellers. I was like, wait, there's a National Association of us?
Oh my God.
It blew my mind. So that day, in connecting with Charlotte, I ended up joining Keepers of the Culture, we affectionately know it's called it COATSY, joining the National Association of Black Storytellers. And maybe about 11 months later, maybe it's about a year, about 14 months later, I quit my corporate job and became a full-time storyteller.
Oh, snap.
Really quick turnaround. So these are little, I like doing these kind of formal interviews because even though we talk, just in conversation, wherever we are, these little things I didn't know,
Yeah.
What made you take that leap at such a crazy time? I mean, you had a newborn at that point pretty much. And like, what said to you, like, let's just do this?
She said, but God.
Yeah.
Well, my husband at the time thought I lost my mind. It's like, my grandparents, like, you don't leave your good job, But it was that when I was going into corporate America, and maybe you all can relate to this, there's a poem by Paul Laurence Dunbar called "We Wear the Mask," and you have to put on. I think now in today's language be like code switch, and you can put on the mask. And one of the things that was hard to do was to continue put on the mask going into that building, and knowing that I had trained a white woman who then became my boss after she completed the training I gave her. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, this is too much. And also, leaving my baby was hard. Like, I did not want to leave my baby. This allowed me, and how I visualize it, I remember, watching your show when you all were doing your New Year's resolutions and visualizing myself in the middle of the day being able to go to her school and drop off something if she forgot something, being able to be that mom that is available to her, right? And also fulfill my purpose of being an artist and a storyteller. I was able to do those two things by becoming a full-time storyteller, but wearing that mask in that corporation became harder and harder. And I think they started recognizing my mask wasn't on right. Like my ear some days was
feeling off. Like, listen.
They straighten you up real quick.
like
wait a minute now.
Once you start that process, there's no turning back. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. They be dangling them benefits like, you sure?
I'm sure. That's so real.
Wow, you are speaking to me today. I know exactly what you're talking about, like between anxiety and stress and worrying about my babies and wanting to be in my passion. I was miserable. And literally when this opportunity presented itself, I couldn't get out of that job fast enough. Like, I don't even think, I probably left stuff in my desk. I left out of there so quick.
But you know what? Here's the thing. What TAHIRA, what she just said is kind of inaccurate because she said she left when there was an opportunity. There was no opportunity.
There wasn't. I left on faith.
She just left. She stepped out on pure, unadulterated faith with nothing. With
Literally.
nothing set up. I was like, yo, we're going to make it work. And I'm actually curious. So how old, maybe I should, TAHIRA, how old were you when you made that step?
I'm so glad you asked that because I share this with the young people in my life all the time. So I was 27 when I had my daughter. So it was, and it's a pivotal, I'm telling you, it's something, look, we could get in the whole thing. it's a pivotal thing. 28 to 30 is a pivotal time for women, especially mothers. I'm here to tell you. Yes. So when I finally stepped out, I think I was 28. I was 28.
In terms of what you do day to day now, like what does your life as a storyteller look like day to day?
Day to day. So pandemic or pre-pandemic?
Whoa, right. Whoa.
Right. Okay. Pre-pandemic, it meant traveling the country, doing festivals and traveling the world. I got a chance to travel internationally, perform internationally, doing festivals, doing commission pieces like you and I did for the Delaware Art Museum, where someone comes to me and says they have an idea and they want to shape that in a story, like marking the 50th year of the assassination of Dr. King and how Wilmington responded. Like I interviewed the people in the community, brought forth a narrative, worked with you in collaboration with the music, and did an on-stage production. So it could be a festival, a commission piece, a school, a library. There's a government or community organization that have a message for the community. And that's back to that foundation, right, of the storyteller being the messenger. There's a message that we need to get out. We need to get out in a way that we remember it. And you two, as vocalists, you know what music does to us and how it sits in us and carries forth messages in a way that like a 2-hour speech could not, or a workshop that goes on. So now my virtual programs, I live stream, and it's around the country. I live stream into schools, into libraries, into festivals, music festivals, online festivals. Which has been exciting that I learned a new skill, and I'm trying to fix my mind to understand that things change. I think about how we used to watch movies, right? I think about we used to go to Blockbusters and rent a movie, and then now we're streaming it. Like things change, and that's the only thing that's constant is change, and I'm trying to adapt. But the extrovert in me who needs the energy of people, it's challenging not to get that, to have that in your breath space. It's challenging for me. It's a new world, but I'm grateful that I'm still working.
Enough of, talking about what you do. Are you ready to kind of show us what you do with the guitar and tell us a story?
Okay.
I need my blankie.
All right. Yeah.
I need a blankie.
I need my whiskey.
And a teddy bear.
Tell me how much time we got. I'm a storyteller.
Tell your story, girl. Just tell it.
Now. Here we go. You ever have that place where you like to go to recharge, to get re-energized, to reaffirm who you are and what you're about? Well, a mandala had such a place. And her place was the park. There in the park, she would find her voice, and there in the park, she would sing. Not sing, I said sang. She would lift her voice up to the branches. She would cast her eyes upon the beautiful flowers. It was her place. And the elders that came around in the park, they absolutely loved Amandla. They told her that she had the most beautiful voice. And there was one elder, Miss Luella. Miss Luella was so wise and so kind. And she always took time to talk to Amandla. It was a real special place. But today, no one was there but Amandla, and she was glad. She was real glad. She loved the elders, but today was special and she needed to be alone. Now, she thought back over the many times she was in that park. She began to think about how others, like some of her peers, they weren't affirming like the elders in the park, not at all. You see, Amandla's gift of song was a problem. Yeah. because she would make up songs about everything in the middle of the school day. Yeah, the teachers didn't like that much, especially by the time she got to high school. And her peers, they ridiculed her. They called her names, they pointed at her. And sometimes the pain of that, the hurt of that, was hard to lift up. It was hard to lift up. But today she was lifted because she had graduated from high school. And while the other young people were going about, celebrating and gathering, Amandla came to her favorite place, the park, to sing. And she lifted her voice up. She sang high into the trees, and it felt like the birds were harmonizing with her. She was so glad to be there alone. Because then she went to every tree, and she wrapped her arms around it, every one of them. And she hugged them. She hugged every one of them because this would be her last time here. It's time to go. She felt it in her spirit. It's time to strike out on her own. So after she hugged every tree and tried to smell every flower, she left. She left. A few days went by and nobody noticed at first, The elders started asking around and nobody knew where Amandla was. But Miss Llewellyn knew something was wrong. So she went to some of the other young people and asked them, "Have you seen Amandla? Have you seen Amandla?" And those young people did not know and did not care. Miss Llewellyn searched and searched, but she did not find Amandla. And she noticed something. Miss Llewellyn noticed something about the park a few weeks after Amandla had gone. It was the middle of summer, but the trees were dying. The flowers were dying, and the birds no longer sang their song. And Miss Llewellyn knew it was because a young person's voice had been silenced, had been removed from the community. And Miss Llewellyn's heart was heavy, but she couldn't find Amandla. And you know how things are, especially when you're a person of a certain age. Good things happen in life, and bad things happen in life too. Hard things happen. And so, time goes by. Life goes on. And that's what happened. Life went on for Miss Llewellyn and everybody in that community, right? Well, one day, Miss Llewellyn was a few towns over, visiting a friend in a nursing home. Her friend was on the mend, and Miss Llewellyn was sitting with her friend and chatting and catching up on the news of the community, when Miss Llewellyn heard a familiar voice coming from down the hall. And Miss Llewellyn thought to herself, "It can't be. No, it can't be." Miss Llewellyn walked down the hall, walked to the room where she heard the voice, the singing. And Miss Llewellyn got to that room and looked inside. You know who was there, right? Amandla was singing to the elders. She had found her community, her tribe. She found her path. She was making a living, singing to elders, healing elders with her song. Miss Llewellyn couldn't have been happier. She was so thrilled. And when Amandla saw Miss Llewellyn, her heart soared. They they hugged and they cried and they laughed and they caught up on the news in the community. And that's when Miss Llewellyn had to tell Amandla about the park and how the trees had died and the flowers had died and the birds no longer sang their song. And then Miss Llewellyn asked Amandla a very difficult question. Miss Llewellyn asked Amandla, would you come back? Would you please come back? It's just one time, one more visit. Just a visit, you don't have to stay. But come back to the park. Lift up your voice to the trees again so that the park can be healed. Would you come back? And in that moment, Amandla had a choice. She could go back and bring about a healing to a place that was very important to her. Or she could stay where she was, in the community, where she was accepted for who she was by old and young alike, where she had made her own path. What is she to do? What do you think she did? Well, I'll leave the ending to you to decide. And that's the end of that story. So what do you think, Jay? What do you think, Nadj? What do you think she did?
So I think she went back.
I think she went back.
I'm gonna sing to some birds. So
That was really beautiful, and I mean that. I need you to understand, and you probably know more than most out here, but I have the attention span of a 3-year-old, and I was completely just falling into the camera the whole time, or into the screen the whole time, trying to hear the whole story.
It was beautiful.
That was so cool.
Absolutely beautiful.
So we have to at least, we have to kind of hurry up, but we have to touch upon the Freedom Call. You're a storyteller, but you're also a songwriter and a singer-songwriter, and you put together this incredible project over the course of the summer that involved both of us, you, and I mean, I'll let you name who everyone else involved, but as quickly as you can, tell us about that song, how it came to be, and how we can find it. Yeah.
Yes, so Freedom Call is my original song. It came to me, it was delivered by the ancestors. It manifested in a matter of weeks. And the collective that came together for the song, we call ourselves the Delaware Artists for Change. Donnell K. Miller was executive producer on the project. And this was an anthem for this time. It is, I hope it is a song that speaks to our hope, our resilience, our ability to rise above everything, and speaks to the truth of the matter of that we are a continuum in this fight for racial equality and freedom. We who live in this moment are a continuum that we have been pushed forward by millions of ancestors before us who say, hey, now is the time. There is no reason to be afraid. There is no reason to be angst. We have prepared you for this moment. That is the Freedom Call. So on the project, we have Jahiti, we have Noel Picara, we have Nikki Blue, Donna Tucker-Jones, Maya Bellardo, J Street, Nadj Nicole. Hey, and we did that King Creative, Ish was on it. It was a Delaware project. It was a Delaware project. And I hope you can stream it everywhere. Apple Music, Spotify, Pandora, everywhere. You can even go on YouTube and find it. Freedom Call, Delaware Artists for Change.
Well, we thank you so much for allowing us to have you on the show. This has been quite a pleasant and lovely time. Do you want to say anything?
No, I feel all warm and furry now. It's great.
I'm like, I could just take a nap.
I hear dong, 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 do, 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 do.
It's beautiful. But thank you so much. Up next, we'll be interviewing Michele Taylor from United Way. Welcome back. Thank you, Tahira. That was such a wonderful experience.
And now we have another awesome person. We have the president and CEO of United Way Delaware, Michele Taylor. Welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. Thank you. Glad to be here.
So why don't we just kind of go right into the main thing that we want to cover and talk to us about what these learning pods are and kind of explain your role in that whole thing.
Yeah, I'd be happy to be able to do that. So learning pods, right, are structured learning settings in this virtual environment. And they generally consist of anywhere from maybe 3 to 10 kids in which they receive support from an adult. It doesn't necessarily have to be a teacher, but it's someone that's ensuring, right, that they have a structured day that is helping them to make sure they're on their Zoom with schools, and that they are present, that they're doing their assignments, that, you know, there are breaks in between, right? Because Zoom, we found out even for adults, right, can be so exhausting, and that they really have the supports and infrastructures they need to excel. And the learning pods themselves also coordinate with the school districts, which are really a critical component to the equation. So they are making sure not just that they are connected to their classrooms, but they also are having conversations with the teachers around the assignment and the work they need to be able to do. And so the teacher is communicating to the adult at the learning pod, and the learning pod adult is also communicating with the teacher and the parents, right? Engaging the parents in the loops, just to make sure that it's clear about what do our kids need to make sure that they still academically excel.
What age range are we talking about here?
Yeah, so they can literally be, the learning pods can structure to be kindergarten through 12th grade. Oh, wow. And so they are primarily set up, I would say, to be kindergarten through 8th, although some of our partners intentionally wanted to go after middle school and high school kids, right? Those that need maybe a little bit more structure to make sure that they're actually in class, that they're participating in their Zooms, that they're getting the supports that they actually need, right, in order to stay on track. So it can be K through 12. Primarily it's for, I would say, K through 8, but there are some targeted middle school, high school kids that we're focused on. So our role into this, we've seen the value, right, of trying to make sure that our kids excelling. Everyone was thrown into this virtual environment and in this remote learning. And we know that is extremely difficult for some parents to make sure that their kids stay on track, and that they, you know, if I have to work every day, who's making sure? I mean, I think about my own kids. You know, I have 3. I know there have been at least one of them that would not have been on Zoom all day long, right? Unsupervised. Mm-hmm. And how do you make sure that they have the discipline they need, that they have the infrastructure to be sure that they're in class, that they're doing their assignments, they're turning stuff in. And so while this is a national model, we wanted to make sure that it is an equity issue. And so we are, I should, you know, say that in partnership with the Delaware Racial Justice Collaborative that we are a part of, and with some amazing partners, including the Longwood Foundation, recognize that when our kids started in this environment, that they were going to be behind, that there was already this opportunity gap, that there, you know, that kids already were maybe behind, and putting them in virtual environments without some interaction, right, or intervention, it was just going to continue to grow. And so the learning pods really have been a great mechanism to ensuring that kids, you know, the focus wasn't even really to catch kids up from their loss from before. It really was to help kids just stay on track. If we just help kids stay on track without the gap getting larger, we consider that to be a success.
Just for the people who don't know, United Way is a nonprofit organization focusing on early education, college and career readiness, and financial stability. So this is, I guess, the reason why they're doing this. You know, this is their focus. I just wanted to put that out there because I know people are like, well, what makes them, you know, how did they come up with this? This is their thing.
If you could kind of walk us through maybe a day. So I know that, you know, most kids, I mean, pretty much all kids, like if you're in, say, you know, 7th grade, you already have your structure that comes from the school. So how does the pod, I guess, work in conjunction with that? Or like, how does, you know, a kid who's involved with the pod, what does their day sort of look like at maybe 7th or 6th grade?
So that's a great question. So it can look a little different depending at each location, right? But there are some similarities. So envision that I get dropped off. I drop my child off at the pod maybe at 7:30. They may get breakfast to get settled. They may do some activities, right, to get them to be set, you know, ready to learn for the day. And maybe at 8 o'clock, I know that I have to be on my learning. They know that I have to be on my learning pod, or you have to be on your learning pod in math class. And so they're making sure, right, that you are now on class and that you're doing your math assignment. So they have your class schedule from your teacher, right? So it's customized. So while there could be 10 kids, all 10 kids are not doing the same exact thing. Because to your point, there could be a kindergartner in there. It could be a 3rd grader. It could be a 5th grader. It could be 2 7th graders. It could be 2 7th graders, but one's at Colonial School District and one is at Red Clay School District. And so your class assignments might look a little different. So that's why the meant for the ratio, right, for the adult to student ratio is fairly low, but is meant to help you to customize the schedule with kids.
I know a lot of parents were scrambling trying to figure out what to do because
all of them.
Before I started this, having my 2-year-old twins, my husband home, and then my 7-year-old and our dog and our turtle, I was just a little stressed.
Everyone.
So had I known, no. But this is great, and I'm glad that we're talking about it now because it's still time.
So how does a child get involved with the pods? How do we get involved?
Yeah, so it's a couple ways. So the one that we try to refer people is if you call 211, dial 211 and press 4 and tell someone that you're interested in putting your child in a learning pod, they will help to be able to work through our partners to see where there are vacancies. Some of them are full to capacity, right? And some of them still may be have room to take additional kids, but they will help to be able to coordinate that and or put you on a wait list. And the other thing that we're trying to do, we are partnering with FAME to provide virtual tutoring from K through 12. So in addition to me, like taking my class, I may need help with math. And so through the virtual tutoring, we can then connect them to FAME and FAME will connect them to a tutor, right, to work with them. And some of the districts are doing amazing things in addition to provide support. So they may bring a paraprofessional. If let's say Christina school district, that the majority of the kids in the pod come from their district, they may send a paraprofessional over to actually work with the kids that support the instructional learning, or they may send their own tutor in person over 2 days a week to help kids, right, to answer any additional questions, to be able to catch up on any of their homework. And so the structure and supports of the pods, it's more than just having a place, right, to make sure that the kids are in attendance and that they're doing the work, but it's also all the wraparounds and support services. We just did Adopt a Family through United Way. So we had all the pods identify families that were in need, that needed to be adopted. And so we were able to adopt 100% of the families that were submitted for supports. Or if families identify, there were a few that might not have had Chromebooks, or they don't have internet at home. So we're trying to provide those supports and services as well, because we want the kids to be successful and we want the families to have the supports they need to support their kids' success.
We kind of touched upon it, but I know that there's there's a whole racial equity initiative, and that's all tied into the pods. Can you talk more about that? Because I certainly am pretty ignorant to exactly what that is, and if you could educate everyone about your work in that regard, that would be great.
Yeah, so the Delaware Racial Justice Collaborative have really been in place now for over 5 years. And I would say the murder of George Floyd just really infused it. It got a lot of people off of the sidelines. I think it was awakening for a lot of people in our community. And so we have really been strategically focused on what do we need to do collaboratively to address and knock down policies and practices that are related to systemic racism and institutional practices, but to build them up with those that are more equitable for all. And so the work is really focused around education, which we just got done from talking about, wealth creation, health, equity, criminal justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so what we really have right now, we're over 200 community stakeholders strong, about 150 businesses that have put a stake in the ground that says, how do we work more collaboratively to bring change by amplifying the influence of us individually, collectively? And how do we amplify our voice to a greater degree in order to drive change throughout our state? And so that's really what the DRJC is focused on. One of the first places we picked was education because of this virtual environment, right? We knew when schools open, believe it or not, there's still kids that don't have we're trying to do is to shine light on some of these core, what we would call inequitable issues that are preventing our kids from excelling, and in some places trying to find solutions to them, right? So we were able to add, through the DRJC, put additional Chromebooks in the community, help to stand up internet, help to stand up these learning pods that we're talking about right now in partnership with United Way and in partnership with so many other partners that is doing this work.
Tackling some big issues, and it's obviously appreciated.
That's why she the president.
Listen, I mean,
Okay.
I'm sure we could have a whole hour conversation with you just about your personal experience coming up through United Way, because you've been there. Has it been
20 years?
20 years? That's
21 years.
Wow.
Has happened, and a lot of transformation has. To some degree, I say we take a lot of progress, and then some things I think things haven't changed much. And so, we are trying to, particularly through, I would say, the racial equity work and social justice, that we really believe, maybe this is a time and season to really amplify and to maybe get change to a larger degree than what we've had before. If you just take third grade reading and the fact that still so many kids in our communities cannot read on grade level still by the end of third grade. Almost 80% of our kids still cannot read on grade level by the end of third grade.
I had no idea the disparity.
wow.
It's huge, right? And just bring up the point you made, we don't really talk about it, right? We're still silent on so many different issues that we're hoping and hopeful that we can begin to amplify to a much larger degree.
Yeah.
Is there anything is there anything else that you want to make sure that you get across before we wrap it up today? Because I'm sure there are a million things you guys are working on, but we talked about the pods, the initiative. Are there any other big things that you want to make sure that you let the people out there know?
No, I thank you for having me. So hopefully we'll have a continued conversation about this. I mean, I think what people really need to know is that there's no perfect process. I mean, I sit on a lot of groups and been involved in this community for a long time trying to drive social change, right? It's systemic, it's deep rooted, it's complex, it is hard work. It's some of the hardest work, right, that I've ever had to do. And a lot of times I think we as adults get in the way of real progress. And so the message is, if we really keep kids and families at the heart and center of what we do, that while it's not an either or, right? We got to drive. So talk about what we talked about, the racial equity. We got to drive systemic changes if we're really going to make real progress in the end, at the end game. But in the meantime, we also really got to make sure that we are delivering and getting outcomes on behalf of kids today that's going to make a difference tomorrow. And so that's my point. And I want to close this out because I've really, there's a couple other organizations I said I didn't want to make sure I missed any of them, but the Youth Empowerment Program that we're working with, as well as the Center for Structural Equity, CIT, Let's Grow, Act, and Win. And the last thing that, I noted is we realized there's so much trauma and that a lot of our communities are going through. We're going through it. I mean, think about just the impact of COVID and racial equity and still taking the vaccine, not take the vaccine, family members that are experiencing and getting connected, and then the impact of learning and being in virtual environments. It is a lot for adults. So can you imagine still the impact that it has on for kids in our communities? And I'm glad to say that we're partnering with the Jewish Family Services, Children's and Families First, and DOE, and Terry Lawler, to ensure that there are trauma-informed and behavioral health services available to our communities, to the kids and families. And so we are striving to make sure that 100% of our communities has access to the resources they need, particularly around the behavioral health and trauma work.
Ms. Taylor, thank you for everything that you are currently doing, that you have done, will do in the future. All we can say is thank you, and you're an awesome, fantastic woman. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
The first show of the year is a wrap.
First show of the year
It's
is
done.
a wrap.
Let's high five each other. What did you pull from today? What touched your heart and mind?
My jellies.
Help me out. My jellies? What are you talking about?
You know.
Oh, I got you. I never heard
Your
that term
heart,
before.
your jellies.
Okay, your jellies. I'm thinking of the old 1980s shoes that you put on the jellies. You don't even know about jellies, do you?
Oh, God. What I pulled from this episode is that there may not be enough. No. Number one, Delaware has great people, has great examples. Representation matters. And when you look hard enough, you can find some real gold here. Mm-hmm. Like, people underestimate Delaware because it's so small, or because of, sometimes it's selfish experiences that you've had, whether it be in high school or at workplaces. But to be completely honest, we have shown over this, these past however many episodes and today that Delaware is something to truly be proud of. So I'm just continuing my pride. That's really it.
Yeah, I love that. So if we look ahead, and as we keep talking about vision and growing and moving forward, do you have sort of a
You're making me uncomfortable with your hands.
That's how I talk.
Put them down.
If anyone talks with their hands more than me, I would be terrifying,
I'm gonna talk like this.
It's like my brain is actually...
Do you?
If you could look forward into... the Michael Jackson, that thing was pretty great, actually. With those gangly arms. That was great. They flew all the way across the country, east and west. You slapped somebody's grandma in California with them fingers. All right, let me bring it back in. So if you look forward to 2021 at the end, like towards the end of the year, like how do you see Delaware being, what would you like to see Delaware as? We're not going to get this question answered because I had to say that. But it was funny. When you threw them, it was like, wow. I could feel like a breeze from that finger, and I go, soup! Like a sniper. I think you cut one of my locks when you did that.
Oh, I have never.
Yep. I'm sorry.
I'm literally sweating right now.
Well, I know you're cold, so I'm just trying to...
The crazy part is I'm half embarrassed, but I'm half like it's so funny.
Now the thing is, you're never going to do the Thriller move again. Oh, man. Yes.
Wait, funny story.
Go ahead.
I was in a pageant and we had
Okay.
to do a dance number. And
Go
we
ahead.
had to do the Thriller.
Get out of here.
So because it was a national pageant, international pageant, we had to go in the alphabetical order.
Yes.
So Delaware is in the front. They were like, after a week of rehearsals
Yeah.
for the whole pageant, they told me that they were going to have to rework. They're going to put me in the back until the very end of the dance and find a way for me to come back up because it was so bad. And I just thought to myself, like, you've completely failed your family.
That's really funny. But everyone has
And the
their
Thriller
strong
dance
suits.
was one of them things, and they put me in the back. They were like, nah, sis.
But so could you? I could talk about this forever. But like, could you right now, if you had to, could you do the whole Thriller routine?
No.
You don't remember? Do you remember bits and pieces of it?
No.
Really? How old were you when that happened?
17.
Okay, that's not that long ago. That's really
You right.
funny.
It wasn't.
No, that was well done.
I still mad you said you could smack my grandma. What you say?
Well, listen. I think we're supposed to be doing our. I'm supposed to be doing like my bottom line. The bottom line.
What is your bottom line?
Well, I
Jay?
think now that we've gotten to the end of the show, the bottom line of today's
Dun, dun,
show
dun.
is that Nadj has some long fingers that can reach. You know how we're going to reach? You know how we're going to reach the southern part of this state? You guessed it. Nadj doing the Thriller dance. And
This
finally,
is the end. I swear. Tune in next for Chef Dana. I'm done.
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year.